ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another third-party unlicensed figure unboxing and review video. Now today we're going to be taking a look at none other than the SooSoo Toys blind Vigilante, aka Matt Murdock, Daredevil from the Netflix TV series. He often chopped and changed between this appearance from Season 1 and also the red suit. So now finally we have a proper high-quality, high-end version of this appearance. Do note though, this is actually SooSoo Toys' first limited edition product. That's why I jumped on it and I had to have it as soon as possible, because when this guy sells out, he's kind of gonna be gone. That's the name of the game with limited edition releases, and I don't think they'll be doing a reissue anytime in the near future. In fact, I don't think SooSoo Toys have ever done a reissue of any of their products. Just food for thought. Now, if you are looking to pick it up, I purchased mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that will of course be in the description below, but please bear in mind, this is an unlicensed product. That means the company SooSoo Toys doesn't hold the rights to, well, actually make this, so keep that in the back of your mind when you are making your purchasing decisions. This is by no means a promotional video. This is a review on a product that I purchased with my own money. If you do like seeing really early hot toys and third-party content, why not hit that subscribe and bell notification icon so you're notified as soon as brand new content goes live on the channel. What we are going to do now though is get the box laying flat in the light box and do the unboxing. And here we have the box art for the blind Vigilante. As you can see, they've gone super classy with their box art. It's super simple, it's straightforward. You can see Matt Murdock on the front here wearing his black appearance, but they've also gone for this sort of subdued color palette. It's a bit of a sepia effect, and I really like the way it looks. You can also see a limited edition sticker up the top there. It is a nice glossy finish. Blind Vigilante down the side, and some legal information on the back. Now let's get this guy out here. There have been a couple of other third-party releases of this outfit, but I didn't go for those. I was waiting for SooSoo Toys because they teased it, and well, here it finally is. For those of you who don't know, SooSoo Toys happens to be my favorite third-party company because of their attention to detail and the quality of their paint apps and finishes. And here we have him, Matt Murdock in his Season 1 and of course final season appearance. I'm really liking the heft in hand. More on that a little bit later in the video. Now you can see he does come with a couple of bits and pieces dotted around the box, so what we are going to do now is get all of this stuff laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. And here we have all of the accessories that come with Daredevil, and as you can see, it's relatively straightforward. These are pretty much the essentials whenever we're taking a look at a Daredevil figure, especially one based off the black appearance. Now let's take a look at the display base first. It's the typical SooSoo Toys style display base, the metal grate effect, the Daredevil logo, and a blood splatter over the top, but it's not in your face. It's nice and subdued, and honestly, I'm really impressed with how this display base turned out. It's one of my personal favorites from SooSoo Toys. Now let's take a look at the head sculpt. It does have a really neat interchangeable faceplate gimmick, which you'll see in just a second, but let's talk about the sculpt itself. It's super intricately done. You can see it's a double layered piece, the white underneath, then the black over the top. Plus, I can definitely see the Charlie Cox Matt Murdock likeness here. It looks really darn impressive. You can also see some hair around the back and an ear poking out of the side there. Now, in order to use the interchangeable faceplate gimmick, you literally pull off the top and then bring in the angry faceplate, and this one looks equally as good in my opinion. But they've learned from Hot Toys' mistakes, and they've actually pegged the teeth in separately, so there is a bit of a gap there. Unlike what we saw, unfortunately, with Ant-Man, it doesn't have that same effect, which is a huge plus, but these two look really darn good. Let me know which of the two is your personal favorite down in the comments below. Now, he does come with his billy clubs. Of course, it's Daredevil, he had to, but these are the simple wooden variants. You can, of course, give him the Daredevil ones if you have the Hot Toys Daredevil figure, but I personally like these. They're simple and they get the job done. Just like the outfit itself, it's more form over function when we're dealing with this particular look for Daredevil. Now, he comes with a few interchangeable hands, and they all have the hand wraps already attached. I love the blood effect over the top, and you'll see how that ties in with the rest of the wraps when we take a look at the figure. So without further ado, what we may as well do now is get Daredevil himself out here and take a closer look. And here we have him standing straight up and down the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. And I have to say, this guy has a presence. I really like how he looks just standing in front of me here. There are a couple of tweaks which I'll mention in just a second to get him looking as good as you possibly can, but then again, you don't really have to go with them anyway. He still looks really good out of the box. Having this guy, I really didn't know what to expect going into this because it's a fairly simple outfit, and I'll probably say that a few times throughout the course of this video because, well, it really is. It's a black outfit with some black boots and a black mask. But somehow, SooSoo Toys have still made this guy visually interesting in hand. When you get him, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Him being a little bit more bulky really does set the figure off, in my opinion. More on that in just a second. Plus, the likeness is on point, and the paint applications are superb, especially on those hand wraps. What we may as well do now, though, is take him off the rotating turntable, punch in, and take a closer look at the details. And here we have him up close and personal, and let me just say, this guy looks absolutely sensational in hand. I'm super glad I picked him up. Now let's start off by taking a look at the outfit first, then we'll talk about the various sculpted and painted pieces. The shirt is just a long sleeve black shirt. It does the job. It's a nice lightweight material, and you can see a faux red collar sewn in up the top here. It kind of mimics the effect of him wearing a red t-shirt underneath the black one, and it, as I said, does the job quite nicely. It's simple, but effective. Now, he does have a real metal buckle on his belt there, and some nice, loose-fitting cargo-style pants. That means you'll be able to get some really awesome poses out of your Daredevil. More on that in the articulation segment. Now, he does have a holster section for his billy clubs. It's nicely sculpted and painted. It's more of a rubbery style plastic, which means it can move up and down just a little bit to get out of the way when you are posing. It's a really nice touch. Now, moving down to the boots, these look eerily similar to what we saw in the Hot Toys Punisher figure. It's a split cut boot design, which of course I love, but they are really nicely sculpted and painted. I love the attention to detail on the texture of the leather. They're nicely weathered, so it looks like, you know, they've seen just a little bit of action. Now let's talk about the wraps. First of all, these are sculpted pieces. Thank the figure gods they didn't decide to go with actual twine. That means this stuff won't fray, won't move around too much when you do get into posing. Now, do make note of how I have them positioned. There are certain ways that they sort of twist and turn when you do have him in some pretty dynamic poses, but these are the actual correct positions. You'll kind of feel them sit in the right place when you are moving them. They sort of just slot into position, but this is exactly how they are supposed to sit. I love how they're sculpted, and I love how they're painted, all the way down to the hands. They kind of look like they are one connected piece, which is the illusion they're trying to create. They've nailed it. I love the blood effect. They are so nasty and so gory, and it looks fantastic. Now let's talk about the head sculpt, the pièce de résistance, in my opinion. This looks absolutely sensational. Now, a couple of people were having some issues out of the box with their figures. They said he looked slightly too bulky, which is funny because the Hot Toys Daredevil, according to those very same people, wasn't bulky enough, but those people did have the shoulders pushed all the way up and the head sculpt pushed all the way down. As you can see right there, he looks way too big and beefy. But if you did pay attention to SooSoo Toys' recent video, you can actually adjust the head sculpt on the neck. You can see that ball joint receptacle is rather long. What I like to do is remove it entirely, then just very gently seat it on the ball joint. It's still connected, mind you, but it just sits a little bit higher. Also, pull down the shoulders, and it doesn't give him as much of a hunch look. Granted, you can do that if you want to make him big and beefy, but I personally prefer him to have a little bit of a neck. Now, this piece on the back can actually move as far as I'm aware. I've seen some images of this being rotated. Mine is incredibly stiff, so please be careful when you do have yours in hand. I believe it is plugged in and glued as well. Now you can see there is some exceptional paintwork on the back of the hair here and on the 5 o'clock shadow. I do believe both this head sculpt and the new one, the sort of angry head sculpt, are entirely brand new. I don't think they are reused from Hot Toys in any way, and that is super impressive. Overall though, as simple as this figure is, trust me, when you get it in hand, you'll see and feel how high quality this piece really is. Now for a quick side-by-side comparison, here we have the new Blind Vigilante on the left, and the other SooSoo Toys Netflix Daredevil figure being Matt Murdock in his just simple suited attire. It looks really good. Now I can see that there is a drastic difference in the body type between the one on the left and the one on the right. Unfortunately, SooSoo Toys are restricted to the type of bodies that are available on the market. They went for one that had a fixed neck, therefore no, you cannot use the Matt Murdock unmasked head sculpt on this particular release. They had to pick between using it on this Blind Vigilante look or being able to interchange it on the Hot Toys Daredevil, and they went with the Hot Toys release, and I think that's a good call. A lot of people picked up the suited Netflix Daredevil to use that particular head sculpt with their Hot Toys figure, so I think, as I said, that was definitely a really good call. But I can see the difference, yes, in the body type, but you have to cut SooSoo Toys just a little bit of slack. They couldn't really engineer an entirely new body just for this particular release, and with those few tweaks that I suggested a little bit earlier, I still think it looks absolutely fantastic. Next up, here we have the Hot Toys Daredevil. I really like this release, and I really like how they stand side by side. I cannot wait to have them both in the display. I may actually have them standing back to back, that juxtaposition of the full-on superhero look and the more subdued form over function design of the black suit. I love them both equally. But if I really did have to pick between the two, I'd still go for the red suit. There's something about a proper, full-on superhero look that just drags me in every single time. It's not to say that the SooSoo Toys figure can't compete, because it absolutely can. In fact, I'd even say that potentially the sculpt on the faceplate looks even better than the Hot Toys one. That could be because this SooSoo Toys figure came out in 2021, whereas the Hot Toys figure is a few years old now. Technology has advanced, even with third-party companies. The skin tone is a little bit lighter, it looks more like a proper human, whereas back when this Hot Toys Daredevil was produced, Hot Toys were erring a little bit more on the side of a warmer skin tone, which isn't quite accurate to the actor or the character. But either way, they look fantastic, and as I said, I cannot wait to put them in the display. Just going over articulation on Daredevil. Now bear in mind, this is my personal copy of the figure, so well, I'm going to be a little bit more careful. I'm sure when you get yours in hand, you can push the joints slightly further than I'm willing to go. Now starting off with the head sculpt itself, depending on how you have it seated on the ball joint, it will drastically vary the range of motion. I have mine sitting up a little bit higher just to elongate the neck, but if you do push it down, you will have significantly less range of motion, so I do advise pulling it up and giving yourself a little bit more range. As you can see, forward, back, swivel and pivot side to side. The arms themselves go out to about there. They go forward pretty much the full way. He is wearing an entirely fabric costume, so that really does make sense. You do have a butterfly joint, you don't have a swivel up here, you do have a bend, a single bend mind you, at the elbow, and then that actually incorporates the swivel. You do have a regular 1/6 scale joint for the wrist itself. Now for the torso, you do have two joints, one up here, then one down below, so you can get a fairly decent crunch forward, and back goes quite a way. You do have swivel and pivot side to side. The legs themselves go forward to about there, they go out the full way, swivel at the upper thigh, a double bend for the knee, and of course you've already seen it down here at the foot, a ball joint for the ankle with an incorporated split cut boot design. Just wrapping up on the SooSoo Toys Blind Vigilante figure. Now initially I really wasn't all that hype for a black suited Daredevil. It wasn't my favourite appearance for the character throughout the various seasons, But now that I have him in hand, let's just say my mind has been completely changed. I really like this figure. This figure has actually made me appreciate the costume in the show more, where usually it's the other way around. I don't know what it is about how simple and effective the execution of this release is, but it just works. You'll know what I mean when you get yours in hand. Plus, the only real restriction in terms of posing is the single jointed elbows. If only they could have incorporated double joints there, we could have got some really fantastic poses, but by all means, he can still pose really nicely, and he's entirely fabric, so that means you can pretty much go crazy without having to worry about any creasing whatsoever. Plus, I think both of the facial sculpts are really, really good. They're superbly done and they're really nicely painted as well. You'll have to let me know which look out of the two you do prefer in the comments below, but I might be leaning towards the more stoic look. The angry one is awesome too, but for me the stoic one just represents Matt Murdock a little bit better. Now, in terms of picking this guy up, I purchased mine from toyswonderland.com. I have included the link in the description below for your reference purposes only, because don't forget, this is not a promotional video, this is a review on a product that I purchased with my own money. While you are down in the description, why not check out the link to 6 Scale Network, the awesome Facebook group. Come along, chat figures, share photos of your collection, and of course, see what's coming up next on the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.